Hello everybody, this is my other vehicle. This is a 1993 Acura Legend, and in this video I'm going to specifically go over the things that you want to check for when you're purchasing a used Acura Legend. They do not make these brand new anymore, so they're all used and they're all about 20 years old now. So this is the second generation Legend, which was available from 1991 to 1995 instead of the first generation Legends. A lot of them came with the 4-speed automatic transmission. Some of them, pretty rare, did come with the 5-speed manual transmission from 1991 to 93, and after 93 some of them even came with the 6-speed manual transmission, which I have right here. And there are two trims, I believe. There's a LS, which is a luxury option, and some of them have cloth seats. Most of them do have leather seats. So I have the top of the line one, which is a 93 Acura Legend LS with the 6-speed manual transmission. So back in 1993, when this was made, this was a $45,000 car, very expensive car. And it was really ahead of its time. There are a lot of technologies that a lot of people don't know or even exist in this car, and I'm going to tell you the specific things that you want to check when you're buying a used one. So let's start from the engine bay. So this is a C32 engine, which creates about 240 horsepower since it's a Type 2 motor. And this is completely different motor from the NSX. A lot of people think, it's the same bottom with the different heads. In reality, it's a completely different motor, except it's the same size. This is a 90-degree V6, just like the NSX. Most of them are the non-Type 2, which is a base C32 motor, which doesn't have the badge over here. Those motor produces about 205 horsepower and about 230 foot-pounds of torque. The Type 2 motor, which is a revised upgraded motor of the base motor, came out in 1993. After 93, all the coupes came out with the Type 2 motor. After 94, some of the 4-door sedan models came with the Type 2 motor. The difference is that it has bigger intake manifold, and then stiffer valve springs, so and then a little bit more aggression timing, I heard. And they do produce 240 horsepower, so like 30 horsepower more, but it produces slightly less amount of torque, which is about 205 foot-pounds of torque. The only difference is that these cars rev up higher, around like 7,500 RPM, 7,000 RPM, instead of 6,000, so they do produce more amount of horsepower. And the difference between 5-speed and 6-speed is that base motor, when it came with manual, was 5-speed, but the Type 2 ones came with the 6-speed manual transmission, which is very rare to find. So inside the engine, the things that you want to check is the head gasket. So these cars are notorious. It's really known for the head gasket blowing up because of the EGR system, which is down here. There's the EGR the unit, and there's the EGR pipe down there. What it is, it's what the auto manufacturers made back in the 90s to get a couple more miles per gallon for the car. It reuses exhaust gas and put it back into the intake. And what happens is that it gets plugged up because of the exhaust gas, and then when the pipe gets plugged up, and then the back of the intake manifold gets plugged up with the carbons, these two back cylinders, they blow, and then when you blow the head gasket, your engine oil becomes milky and your car's no more drivable. The Honda recommends you to clean the EGR system every 60,000 miles, but not a lot of people know that because not something a lot of cars needs. So what happens is when it gets plugged up, the head gasket blows up, and I would say blows up every 150,000 miles, something around there. So if you're buying a car with, high miles, you want to make sure the head gaskets were replaced or the EGR system were ever cleaned, or if it ever blew before, what he did to it. Something that you must check when you're buying a high mileage Acura Legend, because if you don't, it's gonna blow up, and you don't want that to happen. It's cost quite a bit of money. My car back in 2010, the head gasket blew because of the EGR, and then the owner had to spend $1,000 new head gasket job and cleaning on the intake manifold, EGR, and doing timing belt, all that stuff. So it's quite costly. So something you must want to check for. Another thing that you want to check is the axles. On these cars, the axles are pretty notorious for going out, because the axle was, unless it meets OEM standards, they used to go bad really easily. And when they go bad, the car vibrates, you can hear ticking, bunch of other issues. It's rather simple to tell if the car vibrates under hard acceleration going up hills, or if you're taking a corner and it makes ticking noise, then the axle is most likely bad. My axles did go bad recently, and then you can tell I just replaced the axles. I haven't even tipped it up there. I replaced it like a couple days ago. So this is another thing that you want to check. When the axle's bad, other things like the wheel bearing, shocks, bunch of other things, bushings can go bad as well. If the axle is bad, ask the owner, how long it's been like this, and a bunch of things. Another thing is a TCS unit, traction control system, available for the options. If you don't have it, don't worry about it. If you do have it, make sure it works. It's a pretty simple. There's a sensor on each front wheels, and when the tire spins, and then it cuts off air. And it's pretty simple. The alternator is down there. Power steering reservoir, power steering pump is down there, I believe. The timing belts are over here. The alternator belts are down there, and the crank pulley is down there as well. Make sure your crank doesn't wobble. If you turn on the car, you can see the crank pulley wobbling or not. In terms of the transmission, if you have those 4-speed automatic transmissions, they're rather durable. They're pretty nice. They're not like a late 90s Honda automatic transmissions. They're pretty legit. And if you have the manual transmission, make sure, just like if it shifts fine, as when the clutch was replaced. The 6 speeds, they do come with the dual mass flywheel instead of single mass like the 5-speed ones. And because it's a dual mass, it's a lot softer. However, it's a bit costly to replace it because it costs quite a bit much. And what you could do is those 5-speed flywheel and the 6-speed flywheel, those are interchangeable, so you can ask about those. The 93 6-speed, which is the one that I have a bit weaker synchro to it. So maybe putting into first or second gear could be a little tough than the later models. That's something you might want to check for, if the synchro is bad or not. A lot of them have bad synchro. I'm pretty lucky. My synchros are completely fine. That's something that you want to know. After 94, these synchros were remodified and they're pretty durable. This is a very, very heavy hood, and they're supported by 2 shocks over there, which tends to go pretty bad. I replaced mine with the strong arm pretty recently. If the hood doesn't really open well, that means you probably need some new hood shocks. Make sure the suspension's okay. Kind of push on it a little bit, see if the car stands nicely. If it's like bounces more than twice, that means the shock's pretty bad. And make sure to run the car. Try to listen for any tickings or any oil leaking off the valve covers. The valve cover, the grommets go bad pretty quickly on these cars. Something you might want to check. These have hydraulic valves, so they don't need to be readjusted. So listen to the ticking or things like that. So that's about it in terms of the engine. The other things are pretty simple. The other things are basically like other car, cruise control, all those things. Make sure they work and you will be good. So now, let's go check the inside. So the inside, there's a lot of feature to it. Just like if you close the door, the seatbelt come up. So make sure that works. It's a pretty cool feature on the LS models. It makes you easier to put the seatbelts on. So this is the two-door coupe. As you can see, there's no back doors. If you have the four-door sedans, it's rather simple. It's basically the same, except it has back doors on the back. Some of them have heat seaters in the back. The two-door coupes, the rear windows do roll down, which is a very cool thing. A lot of people, holy shit, how did you do that? It's a standard option on the Legend coupes. All of them have the back windows rolled down. So my main goal on the interior is that there are a lot of options to it, a lot of people miss. So I'm gonna go over every option, on this car that a lot of people don't know, to make sure you check if they work or not. Just like the BMW 7 Series, these have soft close option, which means if you close to a certain point, they close by itself. On the door panel, there's a courtesy light, which is yellow, mine is LED. The trunk button is over here. And then you can disable this button under the glove box, which there is a knob here, which you can disable the trunk latch. It's for the valet parking option, I think. The door lock, make sure it works. The seat memo is here. I haven't set mines, I think, but you can set it to memo and then put one, and now that's first one. That's how it works. Make sure they work. If they don't work, you can look at the manual, and this light is basically check engine light for the check light for the seat memos. They do come with the rear mirror defroster. They work rather quickly. You turn on the car, push the button. About 5 minutes later, you should try to feel the side mirrors, and it should be really, really hot. The side mirror motors, left and right, all four ways. Bottom, top. Make sure they work. On the center dash, this is the light adjuster. Dimmer, dim, bright, dim, bright. Yeah, kind of works. Anyways, and this is the rear mirror defroster. This is the front mirror defroster. This is the LS console. Has an automatic climate control, which means if you put auto, put it to 90, and the car just set it to 90 automatically. And this is the buttons for it. And then make sure the AC works. On the other side, the tachometer, there's a cruise control. You just push the button, and the button's over here, just like other Hondas. And on each side of the handle, there's a horn, there's a volume adjuster, and this is the sunroof. There are 3 visors, left, center, and right. And then if you turn on the headlights, it should light up like that. If you don't, then they don't. It has 2 mood lights, one on each side like that, and then on the center there's this light. And if you turn on the center light, and then the back lights work as well. On the bottom left side of the car, there is, some of them might have fog lights, mine don't have it. Mine do have traction control, which if you turn on the car, it should be off, and if you push the button, then the traction control light comes on. That's check engine light. I have bad oxygen sensor, and it should come on. That means your traction control is off, and if you do that, that means your traction control is on. If you turn off the traction control, you should be able to spin tires. If you turn it off, and then it won't spin any tires. The cars have courtesy lights, which is At nighttime, if you turn on the headlights, the courtesy light work. And they have 2 on the front and then 2 on the back on each side door. You can adjust the brightness like that. Make sure that works. The center console, this is the emergency light, temperature gauge, and this is the clock time adjuster thing. These vents pretty fragile, mine cracked already like that. The center console, if you have the stock audio, then there should be the audio right there. If you have the Bose stereo system, if you put aftermarket, then they're not going to work. Only has an amplifier on the back right there behind those seats. If you have the stock stereo, good for you. If you want to go aftermarket, then you have to wire all the speaker with separate sub, and which I did. And then after that, you have to take out the stock Bose amplifier. The center console, pretty simple. Some of them did come with phones. If you have that option, there should be a phone right there, like a legit phone. Cup holder, a lot of cars didn't have it. There should be a cap, and then you can unlock it using this switch. Literally 90% of them are broken. But if you have a cup holder, lucky, these are worth millions for Legend owners. This is the only cup holder in the car. The heated seats, the controller should be on the center. This is for the passenger side. This is for the driver's side. Make sure they work. The seats are automatic. For the driver's side, it's 8-way, which means I can adjust the height. And for the passenger side, it's only 4-way, front, back, and then this lift back. And the back seats are not automatic, they're just set as that. If you have the 4-door one, you might have the heated seat controller over here. If you have the 2-door, make sure you check the windows. On the back, there's nothing, there's just a trunk. And this is a trunk. Mine is really messy with a bunch of stuff. You can see I have 2 subwoofers down there. If you have the CD changer, it should be right there. I do not have CD changers. Make sure you have the spare tire underneath. And make sure the rear lights work okay. Make sure the muffler doesn't have holes in it. A lot of them have factory security alarm system integrated. And this is the way you check. Close the light, make sure the door is sealed tight, and then just lock it. If the light's on, that means your alarm's working. If you have the keyless entry, good for you. I don't have the keyless entry option, and that is about it. Oh, make sure that thing works, the seatbelt moving thing. It's pretty cool. So if you have any questions or something that you think I missed, please let me know, leave a comment, and I hope you guys all find a great Legend for yourself.